situation. There is enough pure talent on this team that you can justify doing that. And I mean, you look at the lineup that was put out there. I mean, there was not really a guy out there that you were overly concerned about, and you were saying to yourself, okay, this is over the top. Carolina was not throwing out Creighton Lebo or somebody trying to send a message. They have talented guys that they can throw out there. And again, it's nothing against Creighton. Creighton's a walk-on. He's the guy that knows, he's a Blue Squad member, stuff like that. But I thought it worked out pretty well. Like you mentioned, they got off to a very good start, probably their best start of the entire season.
After starting the game with 3 consecutive turnovers, then they played well.
Right. I mean, you get up by 11 at one point in the first half. Even throughout most of the first half, you held a pretty solid lead until they made a little bit of a late run, which you countered to go up at the half by 6. But I mean, look, the energy looked pretty good from that group. And even the guys when they came in, when Garrison Brooks came in, he got, he had a little bit of energy. He only scored 9 points, so not quite the Garrison Brooks that we saw last year, but he did have 11 rebounds in the game. Leaky Black, I think Leaky Black should come off the bench the rest of the season because that's the best game that we've seen Leaky Black play, maybe in his entire career, if we're being honest. He took a couple of mid-range perimeter shots that looked really good. Looked like he had some confidence, knocked them down. He had that beautiful floater right before halftime to give the Tar Heels a 6-point lead. And I thought, he played pretty well on the defensive end as well for the first time in a little while. So I think that, he might be a guy that is better served coming off the bench. We, figured eventually they might make that move. We thought they would have to wait until Anthony Harris came back, but they, Roy Williams decided to go ahead and make the move right now. The one that, like I said, Garrison Brooks shocked me. Caleb Love shocked me a little bit too because I didn't think there was really just any way that you could take him out of the starting lineup because you needed your 5-star freshman to be that good. But Roy Williams isn't messing around. And he's trying to send a message to his team. And, again, this team looks like they were in position to be able to win this game. Maybe this is just the fact that they're playing veteran teams. I'm really hoping that's what it is, and that these are two of the more veteran teams that you're going to face this year in the ACC. But this is a young group that I put it in the recap article. I understand that you guys are young, but you've got to be able to find ways to win games in late game situations. I mean, you were up by 8, you made a run, you had to feel pretty confident with where you were at. They call a timeout with 6:53 on the clock, and you get outscored 19-6 on the stretch. It can't happen. Like, I know there's talent there. Look, their backcourt played great. Jose Alvarado and Michael DeVoe combined 25 of the 42 points in the second half for Georgia Tech came from those two guys. Their guard play was fantastic. And part of it is just they made a lot of shots. The other part of it, Carolina didn't play great on the defensive end as well. But, I don't know. I just feel like this is kind of where Carolina's at right now. The biggest thing is that these defensive problems have probably always been present in the system that Roy Williams runs. He's a guy that likes to get very aggressive with his double team. He likes to pressure the ball in the half court. That's just what that's what Roy Williams does. But in years past, it wasn't that noticeable because you were scoring 88, 90, 95 points. Now, when you're scoring in the 60s and 70s every game, people are looking and saying, okay, well, now we're losing games and our defense isn't playing great. They need to be able to score the basketball if they're going to win games like this in the ACC. It's just that simple. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they've got to be able to find a way to start scoring more consistently.
That's a really good point that, look, and Carolina's never under Roy Williams been a great defensive team. And I've always said if they're average, they're still going to have to win a national championship because their offense is usually going to elevate them above that. That hasn't been the case since Kobe White left, and that offensive juggernaut of that team, that could score 100 if it wanted to, all left Carolina. And so you're seeing, they're not built to play games in the 60s and the 70s when they're as bad as they are defensively. And I think, I read a little bit too much into how well they played defensively in Maui. I thought this team had the ability to be a really good defensive team. I think, as it's been exposed to since Maui, they don't have the want to play defense at a really high level for 40 minutes. And in basketball, defense, I mean, yeah, it could be scheme and stuff like that. It's about effort. It's about energy. It's about, fighting through screens, closing out hard, getting guys off the block and all that. They're not doing that, and they're allowing teams, to get what they want, and they simply can't stay in front of the ball. And that's not a part of them being young. Youth isn't the reason why you can't guard the basketball. That's about effort. It's about getting down in the stance and moving your feet and staying in front of the basketball, and they're just not doing that. So with the lineup, if memory serves, I don't think Roy Williams was committed to that lineup being the lineup moving forward. I love the whole idea of moving Leaky Black to the bench, because if you're doing that, for me, Kerwin Walton's got to be on the court more. And look, he's a defensive liability, but he's your best shooter. And he can create his own shot. He has a beautiful little ball fake that creates space for him. And once he gets his feet set, this year he's been almost automatic whenever he puts the ball on the floor, takes a step to the side, and shoots the basketball from behind the three-point line. 9 points, 3 or 4 from the field, 3 or 4 from 3. I know we're complaining about the youth and all that, but that might be Carolina's best lineup is Caleb Love, R.J. Davis, and then Kerwin Walton. And then, whatever you want to do on the interior, Garrison Brooks coming off the bench isn't a bad thing. I thought Day'Ron Sharpe played well enough to warrant if you want to keep him in the starting lineup, you want to do that. Armando Bacot's been your best, most consistent big all year. He scored 14 points on 5 of 8 shooting the other night. But I think Carolina's got to look at that. And I think you mentioned it. Bringing Leaky off the bench, a guy that I've been extremely critical of. I was critical of him during the game. He played his best game of the season so far. 10 points, 5 of 7 from the field. His only 2 misses were when he took ill-advised 3-point shots, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He gave you what you need from him. And so maybe moving him off the bench takes some pressure off of him, and he gives you something that you need, because I don't think you want Andrew Platek starting because he fits his role coming off the bench. I think that was more of a send the message kind of notice from Roy Williams that, look, guys, I'm not messing around. Because I think Andrew Platek knows in his own right, I'm better if I'm coming off the bench. I'm better served at helping this team as a bench player as opposed to a starter. And so, the thing about these losses is that we're learning a lot about Carolina, and that's what stinks. You love when you learn a lot. You learn about yourself when you're winning. Carolina's lost back-to-back games that we didn't think they were going to lose, and you're coming out of these games frustrated. And now, we mentioned that Georgia Tech was a must-win of some degree. Now Notre Dame's a must-win. And you got anything else on the loss on Saturday before we move on to the Notre Dame preview?
I don't know. There's so many things that you can take out of the game that are positive. There's so many things that you can take out of the game that are negative. And that, I guess, what's the difference from last year. It feels like you're sort of getting back into that same territory that you were in last year. I don't know if this is a team that can finish in the top half of the ACC. The way they start ACC play, I would say no. But I will give them this. I thought even early on in ACC play last year, there were times where this team just looked completely disinterested. I don't see that with this Carolina team. This is a team that's playing hard. They want to win games. They're doing as much as they can to win games, but they can't get it done. But at this point, the only thing that Carolina's got going for them right now is that the rest of the ACC is a complete disaster. This is the worst year of ACC basketball that I've ever seen. There is no clear number one. There are people that think that NC State could be the best team in the ACC. There are people that think Clemson could be the best team in the ACC. In basketball, this is the season that 2020, 2021 is. So it's just complete chaos. And that's what might be even more frustrating. If Carolina can just get something going, they are going to be right there because nobody else in this conference is playing great basketball right now. So it's not like you're getting, teams like Virginia or Duke. None of these teams are running away from you. There's opportunity there. There's opportunity for you to win some of these games going forward. But, it seems like Notre Dame is going to be a must-win for them. And, I mean, the good news is at least it's at home. Because if they wouldn't have scheduled that game with Notre Dame, you would have just left the postponement with Syracuse there, and your next game was January 5th against Miami. I don't really know how this team will respond, because that would be your third straight game on the road. Miami is a place where they will have fans, because in the state of Florida, you are allowed to have people in attendance. So, I mean, it's a big break for Carolina, and they've got to take advantage of it. If they want to have any chance of being able to compete in the ACC, and really, I think at this point, and it might be an overreaction. If you think it is, great. That's your opinion. If they don't win this game, I find it hard to believe that this team's going to make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, no, I firmly believe their season is on the line tomorrow, 4:00 in the Smith Center when they host Notre Dame. And, look, at the initial reaction after the loss, and I was kind of sitting there thinking about it, I was like, man, I'm really glad they don't have to play for another week, because I'm that mad that I don't want to have to watch this team play. And then, of course, they get the schedule change where they move Notre Dame in, so Carolina doesn't have another week off. And I think Carolina needs that. They need to get back on the court and just flush this out of their system. And the good thing is that they're welcoming in a team that gives them an opportunity to do that. Notre Dame's coming in. They're 3-5 overall. They're 0-2 in ACC play. They're not good. They're not what we've come to know of Notre Dame under Mike Bray when they were in the Big East, and really since they've joined the ACC, where they've been a team that's given Carolina a lot of fits. They've given a lot of teams a lot of fits in this league because of their style of play, but a lot like Carolina, they've gotten a little bit younger than over the last couple of years, and it's a reflection of what's happening on the court. As they're coming in, as I mentioned, 3-5. They've lost Wednesday night as well. They lost to Virginia 66-57. But I mean, this team's best win is at Kentucky, and that was by a point. And Kentucky's 1-6. And John Calipari is kicking players off the team because they're crying on the bench for not having playing time. That's where Kentucky is at as a program at this moment. So this is a good chance for Carolina on paper to right the ship. You get this is only your third home game of the season, so you get to be back home in the Smith Center. Albeit there is no fans, but you don't got to go on the road, and that's playing a factor this year. But we also know the issues that Notre Dame presents Carolina with the way they want to space the floor, and also the thing they do very well is the one thing Carolina doesn't do very well. They can shoot the three. We can't guard the three, and they come in averaging 9 makes per game on 23 attempts. They're a pretty efficient three-point shooting team at 39%. If Carolina's going to win the game, they've got to hold them less than that. And, really the thing is like when you talk about this game, it's the matchups, the style of play. And it's really because Notre Dame's big men, Nate, Lozowski, he can step out and he can shoot three-pointers. How does that affect Carolina? Because you want to play with two traditional bigs, so it's either going to get Bacot, Brooks, or Sharp on him. But your initial breakdown of how Carolina fares going into this one.
Well, we can't go off of the fact that Notre Dame's best win was Kentucky, because so was Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is a team that, even more so than I think Georgia Tech. I mean, you look at some of the teams that they struggled to beat at the out of conference. This should be a game that you should win. But yeah, I mean, this is what is interesting about this Notre Dame team. Even the last couple of years, they had a guy inside in John Mooney who was a pretty traditional big. I mean, he had a little bit of range on him, but he wasn't a guy that was going to stand out there and take threes. This team is pretty much an NBA team, like modern NBA team. They have 5 guys that if they want to, they can shoot for. So Carolina's got to come prepared. I don't know how you scheme against it. I think the best way would probably be to go zone. I'm not with the people that think that going with the smaller lineup would work. I don't see that at all, because again, show me the guards that have played great defensively that you believe are going to be able to shut these guys down. The young guards are really struggling stopping the basketball. I mean, you look at some of the other guys, Leaky Black before the game against Georgia Tech, a lot of people were saying how, he had really struggled so far this year on the defensive end.